he also wanted the pain to end. He asked to speak to a priest and talk to him about being angry at God for the cancer, the year of pain endured in bed, and the pain of dying. He felt more prepared to die after his conversation with the priest and after having received his last rites. Justin was unable to eat when he went to Roger's house. He drank sips of Gatorade throughout the day, which were his only source of nutrition. The first weeks of palliative care were fine, but then Justin started to decline and his pain level increased, such that he no longer wanted to have any more visitors. He was suffering physically and mentally. I am not sure at what point I started praying for Justin to die, but it was clear to me that he was done and needed to move on. It was extremely painful to pray for my child to die, since that was my only option to help him to be released from the pain caused by the rapidly growing cancer in his body. We could not hug him, and our only physical contact was through holding hands or placing our hand on the top of his head. Even kissing his forehead the night before he died irritated him. With a Catholic background, was I to pray for a miracle that would leave him cured, or pray for him to die? He had prayers said for him for all the years of his illness, and a miracle was not to be. I wanted to help him die. His pain medications could not be increased because they were at their maximum dosage, and we were told any increases could cause convulsions. He had requested a do not resuscitate order and to be put into a drug-induced coma. Unfortunately, the way his body responded to drugs, he could not be put into a coma, even though the medications were increased. He had a full understanding and appreciation of everything that was happening, which I think most would agree is the definition of competence. As an indication of his level in competence and understanding of what was happening to him, we discussed what he wanted done with his belongings. He indicated that he preferred to be buried rather than cremated, and that he wanted one of his favorite songs, Fireflies, to be played at his funeral. A few days after we moved Justin to Roger's house, he looked at me and said with great concern that he did not know how to die, and what was he supposed to do? How was I supposed to answer such a question? Both of my parents and my brother had died from heart attacks, so I had little experience at being at the bedside of a dying loved one, but he needed an answer. I told him that there was nothing for him to do, that he would just go to sleep, and there would be a light. So he was to go to the light, where Grammy and Grampy and Uncle Alan would be waiting for him, and to go with them, and that they would take care of him. He just replied, "Okay, I can do that." The night before he died, he started to get a lot of fluid in his lungs. I sat with him for a few hours during the night, and then in the morning he needed more drugs to manage the issue. When things settled down, I closed my eyes and slept for a while. And when I woke and looked over at him, I could see his chest was no longer going up and down. My first thought was one of relief. His dying process was over, and his pain and suffering had ended. But what if there had been another option to just waiting for one of his organs to fail, and having to pray that it would happen quickly with no fear and no pain? I believe that it would have been easier to hold Justin's hand, tell him that I love him, say goodbye, and wish him well on his journey. Then have him go to sleep for an injection, and the dying process would be over. There is a poem that I find relevant to Justin's story, and the last 4 lines go as follows. "And when I saw you sleeping, so peaceful and free from pain, I could not wish you back to suffer that again." Thank you.
Experienced. And we have a second speaker today, Eva Kamiechik, who's a founding member of the Ottawa chapter of Dying with Dignity Canada, and joined our board, our national board, last year. Eva's had a long and successful career in the public service, including positions such as Deputy Commissioner of the RCMP and head of the transition team which established Public Security Canada. She's been an active volunteer throughout her career, and just before retiring, she held the position of Senior Vice President of United Way Centraide Canada. She's currently the principal of LGT Executive Performance, which specializes in consulting on public sector reform and leadership development.